One of my favorite intro songs out there, y'all. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for being here. I did get started about 30 minutes early today. I want to get after it. Want to talk to you guys about the tight ends in the transfer portal. But before we get started on that, we're going to talk about a number of things, and then we'll talk about the top 25 tight ends in the transfer portal that I haven't talked about. Remember, this is the first episode of tight ends, so the next time it'll be 25 or 26 through 50, but tonight it is 1 through 25, at least according to 24/7 Sports rankings. Remember, I have no respect for their rankings. I don't think their rankings are accurate by any means. It's just a website I use pictures for. I like to have pictures of the players I'm talking about, give you a graphic to look at. But outside of that, my goodness, let's not even go there, okay? So thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for trusting me. I'm RicoKnows. I talk about players in the transfer portal. I tend to get it right in the offseason. This is our time to shine. We predict so many things. If you guys aren't aware, I did bottom 10 lists, and I don't know how far back I have to scroll on Twitter to see the bottom 10 list. I'm going to do it here. I know I posted them last week, but I post so much stuff that you might miss it. But bottom 10 lists were these lists where I assessed all the transfers last year. And I'm doing this in the background. You guys can't see this. I probably should have set up for this before the show started. But it doesn't matter. Give me 2 minutes of your time before we get into the show. But I made all these bottom 10 lists. And I talked about who were the worst transfers in the transfer portal. And when I made these lists, people attacked me. How dare you say that about these players? You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I'm sure you know more than the college coaches. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, man, they just put their pants on one leg like everybody else. They're not superhuman. They are human beings who assess talent, and some of them do it incorrectly, and that's why they don't have their jobs. Okay? As a matter of fact, we can even go down the list. I'm pulling it up here, man. We're going to get there at some point. And we can start pointing out which one of these teams doesn't have coaching staffs anymore. Because whenever I look at a transfer and it doesn't make sense to me, just believe me that it doesn't make sense in the totality of life. Like, I'm right. You don't like it, but I'm right. And that's the reality of the situation. And it's been like this for a couple of years now. So, sorry for tap dancing on you guys here, but I talked about the bottom 10 in every position group, and I went over quarterbacks. Here we go. I'm looking at top 10 for next year on some of these lists. Man, I wish I could find it. I know I posted it recently, and I was laughing all the way to the bank because people who doubted me, well, the list came out, we got them all right. Well, literally 9 out of 10 was the worst I did on any list. When it comes to top 10 or bottom 10, I did bottom 10. I told you who were the 10 worst transfers. I was right 90% of the time. I'm going to show you. Excuse me for a second here. This isn't supposed to be it. There it is. There it is. So here's the Twitter. And here's my bottom 10 transfers among quarterbacks last year. And if we hit show more, A.J. Swan at LSU. How did that work out for you, buddy? Logan Fife going to Minnesota. Now, he didn't technically go to Minnesota. He read this post that I wrote back on the 3rd of January, and he said, oh, my God, Rico's right. I can't go to Minnesota. I can't play there. And he went to Montana. He couldn't play at Montana either, at least not to my standard. Nate Johnson told you he was never going to see the field at Vandy. Oh, Rico, you don't know what you're talking about. There's no way a Utah transfer is going to sit the bench to Diego Pavia. That's a speedster. He's a speed demon. Jamari Johnson, Rico, this is a Missouri transfer. He's going to start at Oregon State. No, he's not. I promise you he's not. He's going to sit the bench to a kid from Idaho because I looked at both their tapes and I know what I'm talking about. Chandler Rogers is a product of the system. Had a hell of a year at North Texas. I knew he couldn't go to Cal and start over Fernando Mendoza. What's he transferring to Cal for? This is a group of 5 quarterback at best. DeQuan Finn was terrible in the MAC. Rico, he's the new starting quarterback at Baylor. You don't know what you're talking about. 24/7 Sports rated him this high, gave him all these rankings. What are you doing, Rico? You're such a you're a contrarian. You just try to be different. Motherfucker, we are different. I'm a champion. You're not. You live paycheck to paycheck. I don't, bro. I forgot about more pussy than you've ever seen, dude. We're on different scales. I'm telling you, Hank Bachmeier to Wake Forest, MJ Morris to Maryland. Had no business at Maryland. I told you Billy Edwards is better. Dante Moore going to Oregon. Well, Rico, he's going to be the starter this year, so this wasn't a bad move. Great, bro. Great. Don't try to marginalize my list because you found one guy with a fucking feel-good story. Don't do it. Could you imagine when you give your takes, your sports takes, if you get one wrong, then that automatically means you don't know anything. Right? If you're watching Jeopardy and you missed one of the questions, but you got the rest right, are you dumb? Is you stupid or is you dumb? Are you finished or are you done? It just blows my mind. No Diddy. It blows my mind that you can get one name wrong on a list and they'll just go, oh, look what this guy wrote. Why the Swan hate? This is a LSU fan. Back in January said, why the Swan hate? Bro, I assess transfer moves. And that's just the quarterbacks. Then there's the running backs. Oscar Attaway, transferring to South Carolina. Wasn't the move, was it, buddy? No, it wasn't. North Texas, Trey Bradford kicked off the team before the season started. Michael Allen left the team. Trent Howland never went to Minnesota. Was at Oklahoma State. McDonald never saw the field, Boston College. Jalen Jenkins never saw the field, Texas State. Keelan Black, third or fourth string, Indiana. Brian Bruton, nothing to talk about at MTSU. Dominic Thomas, congratulations, he ended up going to Ole Miss. Even worse. And then Woody Marks. Oh, Rico, you missed one. We know, bro. We know. 90% accurate. 90% accurate. Bottom 10 linebacker, Xavier Carter, couldn't play football at UC. He can't play in the FBS. Geronte Davis, can we stop passing this guy's name around? Hasn't played on any team. 2 years in a row. Can't see the field. Crook, I actually came back and told you guys I was wrong. I think he's a pretty good player. Alexander couldn't play at UCF. Corey Flagg played pretty good at Missouri. He did. They needed him. But Reed, not a player. Looks like I know what I'm doing. If you want to know what's going on with the transfer portal, just get over to RicoKnows TikTok, all one word. On Twitter. We got, 5,900? Almost 6,000 now? We're climbing. By the way, most of these people that follow me, coaches. Coaches, because all I do is try to get player scholarships. All I'm doing is getting these young men scholarships. Now, that's the advertisement for tonight's show. But here, we're trying to get these young men signed to certain teams, 2025s, 2026s. It doesn't matter who it is. Just constantly trying to rep for the players and help them get offers. We had one young man today commit to Division II Limestone. Shout out to them. I am going to talk about them ad nauseum during this show. It's just a coincidence, really. Ian Grissom here, though, a quarterback that I did a high school film review on last year. There he is. Okay. But shout out to them. If you want to know what's going on, get to the Twitter. We got you. Another thing you might want to know about is I am breaking down teams for futures bets in the offseason. We already have one posted. The Florida Gators are here. Boston College, I've already talked about the transfer portal class. And we're going to be doing all the UFC picks. We got UFC fights this weekend, fight night. I'll be breaking down every single fight on Thursday and Friday. So if you want to know who's winning, get to Patreon. We have like 5,600, 5,700 members over there. Yes, you can be a free member or you can pay. Become an MVP. Change your life. That's all I can tell you. All right. And now let's talk about this. Have you guys seen the transfer portal lately? If you saw the transfer portal, and forgive me if you follow me on TikTok and you already heard this story, welcome to the channel. But if you see the transfer portal, you're going to see a lot of these singular logos like this. And all this means is this is an indication that the player has withdrawn from the portal and gone back to school. And I had guys spamming me in my DMs. Oh my God, Rico, we convinced so-and-so to come back to school. We're keeping him. The coaching staff is winning. Musa Berry came back to Western Kentucky. We're winning. And I said, oh God, no. Oh God, no. No, Rico, no, you don't understand. Jamal Johnson's going to stay at UCF. He's withdrawn from the portal because the coaching staff won him over. And we're going to give him reps in the spring, and he's going to stay with us. You simp-ass dudes, bruh. Let me explain something to you guys. Let me get real with you guys for a second here. I'm going to just keep it real. Not a single one of these players wants to play for the team that they have withdrawn and gone back to. 90% of them withdrew from the portal because they have to enroll in classes. They want to stay academically eligible. And they'll be back in the portal in the spring. Because either the coaches wake up and send them back to the portal, because that's how you get there in the spring. Exit meetings. If you didn't know, you finish spring ball, then you have an exit meeting with your positions coach, your coordinator, your head coach, whoever. They do an exit meeting with you, and they let you know if you're a part of their program going forward. If you read the NCAA bylaws, they say you cannot remove a player's scholarship based upon performance on the field. It cannot be for athletic reasoning. It can be for misconduct, rule breaking, academic infractions, or the inability to maintain academic eligibility. It can be for a number of things, but it can't be because you did not perform to the standards or expectations of a Division I athlete. Can't do it. But there's a trick to that. Your scholarship is a renewal every year. So at the end of the year, if you don't meet the standard that they're looking for, aka you're a recruiting miss, they just don't renew your scholarship. They'll just go, hey, by the way, you're not in the plans moving forward. We're probably not going to give you any reps at practice. You're not going to get developed. We know you're an outside linebacker, but we're going to move you to the 5th string tight end. It's processing you out of the team, off the team. And you as a young man have to have a choice. You can stay and play. You can stay and finish your degree. Or you can write on Twitter and say, after careful consideration with my family and prayers, I am entering the transfer portal. And you dare not say anything negative about the coaching staff that has to provide some type of recommendation for you, right? Coaches are going to call and ask, how good is this young man? But if you go to Twitter and go, well, I regret that I have to transfer and it's not my choice. There's only been a handful of guys who've done that. And it doesn't work out for them because they're not playing this gentleman's game. Now, I don't agree with it at all. Coaches are just ruthless. It's recruiting. Coaches are going to lie. Players are going to lie. Everybody's lying. It reminds me of dating apps. Where people just lie on their profiles and shit. And then I remember I was on a dating app and I swiped right on a girl, like I liked her. And I was like, yo, I like this one. And I'm good. And I didn't log back into the account. And I talked to the girl in the DMs, lined up a date. Everything was perfect. And we're like, yo, it's Tuesday. Yo, we'll meet up on Friday for a date. Line it up perfect. I'm like, yo, we got this. She's feeling me. I'm feeling her. We're texting each other. Then Friday comes. And we're on the date. And her phone just keeps blowing up. I'm like, what the hell? Her phone just keeps going off. It is what it is. It was the dating app. And it's because from Tuesday through Friday, she had just kept swiping right the whole week on everybody and anybody. She had a bunch of dates lined up. And here I was just keeping it cool. I was just like, hey, I'll rock with this one. And if it don't work out, I'll go back to the app. I had no idea she was still in there pumping it out. So when these coaches are giving these kids offers, let me tell you, I've been advocating for these players to get offers. I got this kid an offer. He said, thank you so much, Mr. Rico. I just got an offer. This is so awesome. I'm like, yeah, man, go to Twitter, thank him and announce it. He goes to Twitter and he goes, I all glory to God, right? AGTG, all glory to God. I am happy and proud to announce I have been offered by XYZ University. It's my 4th offer. I'm like, hold up, bro. You told me you didn't have any offers. The motherfucker trying to catch them all, collect them like Pokemon and shit. Just looking for more offers. Don't want to go anywhere. Just keeps offering. Hey, I need a better one. I need a better one. Sound like a dude on a dating app just trying to get a better chick and a better chick and a better chick. You're not happy with what you got. Well, back to these dating apps. I want to tell these universities, these coaching staffs, do not simp for these players. These players don't want to be with you, bro. These players don't want to be with you. I promise you. They want nothing to do with you. Jamal Johnson, UCF, he's grateful to go to class and lift weights and use your facilities. But there's a reason he jumped in the transfer portal. They don't want to be with you, bro. Nick been trying to get off this island for 2 years. And he's a great receiver. Now, this reminds me of the time I learned to read the tea leaves, bro. I learned to read the signs, okay? I was a young man. I told this story on TikTok, but I got some of it incorrect on the timeline here. So I'm going to explain this to you guys. I used to go to a high school. Shout out to Indio High School, Southern California, Southern section. I went to Indio High School. I was a gifted athlete, my twin brother and I, and my father wanted more for us. He thought, man, these guys are phenomenal athletes. Let's get them to the better high school. And there was a much better high school about 10 miles down the road. So he's like, yo, I'll just drive my kids over there to this new high school, and I'll drop them off at 6 in the morning. Dad was a construction worker. He's going to drop us off. And we'll just wait 2 hours till school starts. Who cares? We're going to do this every morning. And we're getting dropped off every day at the fancy. And we're going to the white school now. We go from the hood to the white school. And we're learning. It's culture shock to us because kids got their own cars. And no, there's no police officers on campus. There's no daycare in the back. We used to have a daycare at the back of our other school. True story, man. We're like, yo, what is this? We're at a nice high school. It's fancy and shit. But for me personally, I was struggling, bro. I was at a new school. I didn't have my girlfriend anymore. I had a girlfriend I was deeply in love with, my high school sweetheart. Shout out to her. And I got to the new school, and I had to meet new girls. And it wasn't hard. You're an athlete. I played 3 sports, right? I was a football player, wrestler, and I ran track. And it's easy to meet girls. And I remember meeting this one girl. And no need for names, no shade. But she was the daughter of the principal. She played volleyball and basketball. And we started dating. Now, she was a year younger than me. And we started dating. We hit it off. Now, I'm not going to say she's the love of my life. I'm not going to say she was anything. She's just a girl I was dating, and it was cool. But we hadn't thought it all the way through. And when I was getting ready to graduate high school, I had a 2.4 GPA. And I was like, yo, I guess I'm going JUCO because that's the only coach that inquired about me. Shout out to my defensive backs coach. Bill Gadd was his name, Coach Gadd. He reached out to me and said, Rico, the JUCO asked about you. Do you want to play there? I said, hell no. No, I want to go to FCS school. It was 1AA at the time. I want to go to 1AA. I want to do this. I want to be D1. You know, I'm that kid. But I got 2.4 GPA. So my girlfriend says, hey, let's just stick around for another year. She's going to be on a scholarship for either basketball or volleyball. I don't remember which one. She's a very talented player in both. And she says, let's just stick around for a year, and then we'll go to the same school. And I'm like, all right, so what am I going to do as an adult after I get out of school? Well, I start working 2 jobs. I get my own apartment. I start doing some other shit, man. I really did. I became a sports writer for a newspaper. Shout out to the Desert Sun. And I became an automation programmer. I was a very smart kid. I just didn't know how to apply myself. And I'm bringing all this up. I'm going to tie it back to the transfer portal here in a second. I promise you. It's going to sound crazy. But I'll never forget it. She got a job at the Marriott. The Marriott where we're from has like an 18-hole golf course. It's beautiful. The Marriott's beautiful. And she's got a job. She's a waitress by the pool. And I go and get the same job. I remember I got the job for like a day, and I had orientation for one day. And then my other job called, and I got more hours, and I just gave up that job. I was like, I'm good. But I remember going to visit her at work one day, surprise her. This is my girlfriend now. I've been dating her about 2 years. We're getting ready to spend life together. We're going to figure some shit out afterwards. I don't know. And I go to visit her at her work, and there's a dude sitting there talking to her. Spitting game. He's sitting at a table just talking to her. And she's laughing, and she's laughing. I don't make her laugh that way. That's funny. But she's laughing at his jokes and shit. And I'm walking up, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? Now, back then, I want to say I was probably less mature. But I didn't really want to start a fight because I wanted to show that I was secure. Like, you know, I'm not insecure. So I just walked up and was like, what's up? I wasn't trying to beat him up, wasn't trying to do nothing crazy. I was just like, what's up? And she's like, oh, hey, da-da-da-da-da. And this is my boyfriend. And she was real quick. And back then, I didn't know. When a girl introduces you to another guy and goes, this is my boyfriend, she's trying to tell the other guy to act right in front of me. I didn't know that, bro. I was naive. I was new to this whole thing. And I didn't quite put it together. And I'll never forget, it just felt a little awkward. So 2 weeks later, I decide, I really want to talk to her about some things. And we don't have cell phones back then. I know it was the year 2000, 99, 2000 time frame, but I don't remember having a cell phone back then. I just remember having pagers, and I don't know how we communicated. But somehow, some way, I knew I wanted to go talk to her. So I went to go buy some flowers. And I didn't just get any flowers. I went to the grocery store to get these flowers. And I remember getting Mylar balloons. Y'all remember them balloons? Them like almost metallic looking balloons, these Mylar balloons. And I show up to her house, and God bless her mother and her father. And I know the whole family, been there hundreds of times, right? Dozens, hundreds of times, whatever. We've been together for a couple years now. And I pull up to the house, and I got flowers, and I got balloons. And her mom's like, she's not home. I don't know where she's at right now. And I'm like, well, she's not at work. How is she not home? Like, this is weird. So I remember I just left the flowers there for her, and I left the balloons for her. And then I drove down the street. She lived in a gated community. I drove down the street, and I parked my car so I could see every car that goes onto her street. She lived in a cul-de-sac. And I'm wilding, bro. I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, yo, what is going on? I'm waiting on this girl to come home. It might have been 5 p.m., man. I don't know, 11 p.m.? I give up at 11 p.m. She never came home. I don't know where she's at, who she's with. 11 p.m. she never came home. And by that time, I just checked out, and I was like, yo, I'm not doing this. I think I was sitting there with Boys to Men. What is it? Boys to Men, 4 Seasons of Loneliness. That was the CD that had just dropped. Yeah, that shit was fire, bro. I just had that shit on repeat. I might have had In Sync, No Strings Attached. There's this song called Gone, right? Gone. It was like a breakup song. I'm playing this shit on repeat, bro. I'm just struggling, right? And I realized, yo, this shit is a wrap, bro. We out this joint. And it just so happens that we kept talking intermittently, and she said, hey, I've decided I want to go to UC Riverside. And I'm like, oh, you're going to UC Riverside? Well, they don't even have a football team. I've been waiting a year for you. I'm supposed to go play football, and they don't even have a damn team. So at that point, I go talk to the coaches, and I'm going to the junior college, and I'm like, where can we go? They said, oh, we'll get you to Cal State Northridge. And I'm like, cool, how close is Northridge to Riverside? They're not remotely close, okay? And then a guy named, oh man, I thought it was Tom Kraft, but no, that was the San Diego State head coach. I forget the coach's name, but in 2001, Cal State Northridge dissolves their football team. They don't even have a football team. So now my whole dreams are shattered, bro. Like, my whole plan is gone, all because of this girl. But the reason I'm telling you guys this is because she goes to school and she hits me up somehow, some way. I think I had a cell phone. And she hits me up. I had one of them Nextel cell phones, the walkie-talkie ones. You know that shit. And she hits me up and she says, hey, I really hate the way we ended. I really think that we should be together. I'm out here in school now, and I'm really thinking about you. And I think it's just because I was a sports writer, and my stories were on like the front page, and I was really making moves. Like, I was doing really good. I had my own apartment, my own car. I was living it up, man. I was single as a Pringle, right? I was doing my thing. I was loving life, but now your girlfriend calls you back, and now you start feeling that feeling again. And it was nice to hear a familiar voice. So I go out to her school. I pick her up. She says, let's do a date for the day. I'm like, yeah, what do you want to do? Well, back then, you go to the mall, man. You just go to the mall and you walk around and you buy things and do shit. And I remember walking through the mall and buying her like a stuffed animal from the Disney store. It was like a bullshit-ass Tigger, a stuffed Tigger. And we're walking around this Ontario Mills mall. It's huge. We're walking around this whole place. But we're really far away from her college campus. Like maybe 30, 40, I don't know, 45 minutes away. But we're spending the whole day out there holding hands, kissing, hugging, all that shit. We're back at like we never missed a beat. And she's like, okay. And she starts calling me babe again. She's like, babe, take me back to my room and all this. I'm like, all right, I'll take you back. So we go back to her room. Her roommate's there. We're just kicking it, chilling, having a good time. And at some point, she's like, oh, it's 8 o'clock. We have a study group down the hall. and we all got to go. It's an all girl study group. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, let me let you go. Let me get going. So I get going, and her and her friend go down the hall. I get out to my car, and I get out to my truck, and I pull away. And as I'm driving away, I realize my brick of a cell phone had fallen out of my pocket. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get that cell phone back. It actually belonged to my boss. He had just given it to me for my work. So I drive back over there. I'm panicking. I can't find a parking spot. I just park anywhere. I did get a parking ticket. It was like a $50 parking ticket. I parked. I go back to the dorm. I can't remember what floor it was on. Eventually, we get to the right floor. I get in there. I start going down the hall. I find the room. I knock on the door, and her roommate opens up the door, but she's not there. And I'm like, I thought you guys had a study group. She goes, oh, we're still gathering everybody together. And she looks a little nervous. And I'm like, yo, all right. I said, well, hey, look, I just dropped my cell phone. I got to get going. So I grab my cell phone, and I roll out, and I'm walking down the hall, getting ready to leave the building. I'm going as fast as I can because I want to get back to my car that's parked illegally. And boom, there she is, holding hands with this dude. And I just looked, and I said, oh, okay. I said, hey, what's up, man? And he's like, what's up? Like, he don't even have a damn clue who I am. I just spent maybe $80 on this chick for the day. And obviously I spent gas and my time, right? And I'm just like, man, he don't have a clue who I am. And I ain't got time for this shit. I'm like, yo, it's not worth it. I'm not trying to get arrested. So I look at her and I'm like, typical. Nice walk. And I just walk away. I get back in my car and I start driving. And I can tell you, man, I was driving away and I might have been just frustrated. But I swear I was in the middle of like crying and anger. I'm 18, 19 years old. I graduated high school when I was 17. So this is 2 years. I was probably like 19. I'm crying. I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. Like it just felt terrible. And I wish she would have never called me. I wish she would have never asked me to come back. You feel me? Like, I wish it never happened, bro. Like, why? Just move on. Leave me the fuck alone. You know what I'm saying? So, I get back to where I'm from, and I get back to doing what I do. I'm fine. And you recover real quick when you got a lot of options. So, I'm just doing what I do. I'm fine. And then, that was September. So, then we get to December, and she starts calling me again. And apologizing and crying and doing all this stuff. And I'm telling you, when she was doing it, I'm telling myself, nah, we ain't hooking up. Nah, we're good. But she wants to see me again. She wants to see me. She wants to do things. And we rekindle. I had no idea that this is a pattern for some people, like users. You're a simp. You're uninformed. You're Travis Hunter in the moment. You're just a kid. You don't know any better. And you keep falling for the same shit, and the girl is just a predator, bro. And you're weak. You're the prey. And I had no idea. I'm telling you, this is the start of my villain arc, if you will, right? And we started hanging out again, and dude, Christmas, she must have got every gift in the world for Christmas. Every gift in the world for Christmas. I promise you, every gift in the world. Whatever I could afford, whatever I couldn't afford, I was buying it for her. And back then, I don't know what I was buying, but I was buying all kinds of shit, bro. I might have bought her a DVD player. I don't know. It was big money though. And Christmas was popping, and then February came, and I bought her a diamond. I say a diamond necklace, but it was really a diamond charm with a gold necklace. I might have spent like $800 on it. And back then, I mean, $800 is not easy. $800 is still not easy today, especially for a 19-year-old. I was 19. I think I was 19. And so Valentine's Day was popping, and then we're going to go to the movies. And I swear, I think it was Fast and the Furious Part 1. I don't remember exactly, but we go to the movies, and I take her to the movies, and we're in the middle of the movie, and she's like, I'll be right back. She goes like that. She sniffs her nose. She goes, I'll be right back. I got to go blow my nose. I'm like, no problem. She steps out, blows her nose. She comes back. I'm whispering to her, telling her what she missed or whatever. Dude, we're hand in hand, arm in arm. I've been played a couple times, and we're watching the movie, and then another hour goes by. And then she's like, I'll be right back. I gotta go blow my nose again. She goes blow her nose. And then the third time, then the movie ends. And now we're heading out of the movie theater. And she's like, I gotta go blow my nose. And I'm like, no problem, go. And the movie theater, everybody's letting out. Everybody's going to the bathrooms. And so I'm just posted up by the girls' latrine, the girls' bathroom. I'm just posted up, waiting on her. And these girls come out the bathroom. 3 girls. And they're talking to each other. And one of them says, oh my God, that girl's in the stall on the phone with her boyfriend pretending to be asleep. Pretending that she's going to sleep. And another girl goes, she kept getting up during the movie. Bro. I couldn't believe it, man. I mean, I knew exactly who they were talking about. I knew it was her. And this was before Uber and before all that shit. There was no cabs where we were from or anything like that. So I had a decision to make in the moment, and I didn't let her explain herself to me. Right then and there, I became Rico. Like, I became who I am today, right there in the moment. I just walked away. Left her ass stranded. Never talked to her again. Left her stranded, walked to my truck. At the time, I was driving a truck. Walked to my truck, and I drove away. And I thought of her, obviously, but I never once thought, oh, what would it be like to be with her? Oh, my God, I got to figure this out. Nope, just left. And I don't know how she got home. I don't know. She was about 16, 20 miles away from home. I don't give a shit. I don't care. I'm moving on. It is what it is. And I learned from that day forward, like, yo, you got to be a gangster about this shit. Like, for real. It's a dog-eat-dog world. It's ruthless, and you got to be ruthless or you're just going to get trampled on. So I say that because when you look at these players in the transfer portal, you have to learn that although they're coming back to you and they're saying, oh, I'm withdrawing from the portal, I'm back. Don't give them any gifts. Don't invest in them. Don't think they're committed to you. They're just back for the holidays, bro. They're just back for spring football so they can get the most out of it. And then the minute the portal opens back up, they're going to jump back in it. And they're going to bounce. So coaches should know this. Fans should know this. No shade at any of these players. Go find what you're looking for. It's obvious you're not with who you think you should be with. But there's no need to hold the coaching staffs hostage, and there's no need to go down that path. And I shared that long story with you guys to tell you that you got to learn from your past experiences. And I hope these coaching staffs learn about these players who jump in the portal with every desire to depart from you, and then they come back to you. They really don't want to be there. They don't. They might speak a good game. They might say with it, but on the low, they're being written to. On the low, somebody's spitting game at them, trying to somehow, dare I say, that we got this catchphrase around here. Oh, they were tampered with. You can't get tampered with unless you want to be tampered with. Feel me? Like right now, look, my significant other in my life today is Kim. Promise you can't get to Kim if you tried, bro. You can't get tampered with unless you want to be tampered with. You couldn't get to me if I don't want you to. That's all I'm saying. Shout out to these players. All right, so I'm going to be talking about tight ends. Thank you for the long, drawn monologue intro here. I'm not ignoring the chat. Shout out to the chat. You guys are here. TikTok, if you're watching right now, move over to YouTube. Drop your questions, comments about tight ends or the channel or me, the platform, transfer portal, whatever. Put it over here on YouTube. Get to the chat, and I will answer your questions. I don't answer questions down here on TikTok, only on YouTube. Shout out to the people who are watching us right now on YouTube. Shout out to you guys. And we'll get after it on this tight end show. Now, remember, tight ends are broken up into 2 groups. I'm going to be getting to your guys' questions after I finish the first group. The first group are these enrolled tight ends. There's only 5 enrolled tight ends in the entire transfer portal. Here they are. There's only 5 that are enrolled, supposedly. And then everybody else is just committed. And I'll talk about the top 20 committed guys plus those top 5 enrolled, okay? But I'm going to go to questions after the first 5 enrolled. So questions, comments, concerns, put it in over here. I got you. And then we'll go from here, right? Okay. First, what is it? PSA, public service announcement. First thing I want to tell you guys. When I've been assessing this transfer portal, there are 2 position groups that are gravely underrepresented in the transfer portal. That is tight ends and offensive linemen. It appears that the caliber of players in the transfer portal this year, when it comes to tight ends and offensive linemen, are not nearly as good as last year's. All the all-conference guys, the NFL caliber guys, the Power 4 guys, none of those guys are in the portal. And the reason is teams are paying those guys. They're paying them and they're not letting them go. So what you see in the portal is slim pickings. Slim pickings. And I didn't realize it until I was looking. I'm like, how did they rank these guys better than others? Like, how does this work? Slim pickings all day. Now, you guys know the deal. I'm going to talk about 25 people. I go off the top of my head. I do have some notes in front of me from time to time, but it's not, everything. So if I forget some things, I apologize. Usually there's things I want to talk about on every single player and I forget to mention them. But for the most part, I'm going to tell you that I was very underwhelmed by this tight end group. And not just these ones that are enrolled, but the entirety of the tight end group. There might be 5 or 6 players on this whole list where I go, yeah, that's a starter. 5 or 6 out of 25, out of the top 25. This makes for horrendous content, horrendous episodes, but I'm going to do my best. I got you. I'm RicoKnows. I can make this entertaining and fun. I can keep you interested. First guy I want to talk about is Preston Howard. He's a tight end coming over from Maryland, right? Going from Maryland to Auburn. Last year, Rico Walker did the same thing. A transfer from Maryland going to Auburn. Now, I want to make this very clear. Apparently, Maryland has all the best tight ends in the world. Because this is the 4th Maryland tight end transfer in the last 3 years. Remember C.J. Dippre, who just ran out of eligibility at Alabama. After that, it was Corey Dykes, Rico Walker, and now Preston Howard. What are they doing? Like, who thinks Maryland has all these great tight ends? And why do all these Power 4 teams keep signing them? None of them are panning out. None of them are living up to the hype you think they are. And what's crazier to me is how lazy these coaching staffs are. I'm interacting with coaches every single day. I really am. And what I've noticed is the coaches are afraid to identify a talented player unless another coaching staff has identified a talented player. I'm not pulling any fucking car. I'm not saying anything people don't know. No shade at any coach that I've talked to. But the one thing that sets me apart from you guys is I will see a player and I'll go, yo, that's a talented player. I don't care how many offers he has. I don't care where he goes to school, competition, metric. I don't care. I see a guy and I go, that's a Saturday guy. I have been talking to coaches who were afraid to say that. Oh, what other offers does he have? Who else is interested in him? I talked to a coach in fucking Oklahoma about a player in Georgia. And the first thing he said to me was, well, he's got no FBS offers. And how does Georgia State and Georgia Southern let him get out the state? If I said he's an FBS guy, he says, oh, he's not an FBS guy because Georgia State and Georgia Southern would have never let him get out. That's your reasoning? I tell you it's an FBS caliber player, and you tell me, no, it's not, because Georgia State and Georgia Southern didn't sign him or offer him. Neither did Coastal Carolina. Neither did Liberty. So we're not going to offer him. You're a Division II school. You're an FCS school, and I'm trying to give you the biggest hookup you could ever dream of. Because I'm talking to this young man and his parents, and I can get him to your school if you want him. Oh, I just don't think that's real. Guess where the young man committed to today? Today he committed to La Tech. Shout out to Tazio Rosso. Offensive lineman, Camden County, went to La Tech today. FBS caliber, like I said. And there's a coaching staff out there that wasn't afraid to take the kid. The rest of you, just afraid to pull the trigger. So when I look at some of these coaching staffs, oh my God, are they doing a terrible job assessing talent? They're just letting one team assess the talent, apparently. And then they're hoping to get all the coach. It's crazy to me. Preston Howard does not look like a superstar by any means, but you're going to take him. You know, I turned on his huddle tape. Dude is 6'6", 215 on his huddle tape. 6'6", 215. Apparently he's 6'4", 230 now. He shrunk 2 inches. Sounds like a lot of you dudes in the dark, right? He shrunk 2 inches, bro. He was a dual threat quarterback coming out of Owens Mills, Maryland, Owens Mills High School. I don't know if it's Owens Mills High School. It's Owens Mills, Maryland, though. I know where that is. I used to live in the DMV. Shout out to me. But I'm just saying, Preston Howard, dual threat quarterback coming out of high school, moved him to tight end. He looks like a big athletic kid. Is he Rivaldo Fairweather? No. But Luke Dill's also gone. Auburn needs some help, and this is your guy. Is he the best tight end in the portal or the best tight end that's enrolled right now? Not by my assessment. But he's going to Auburn, so we got to believe he's the best one. Let's look at the next guy. Peter Knudson. If I was ranking these dudes, Peter Knudson would be the dead last one. Peter Knudson leaving Weber State, going to Alabama, 5 years at Weber State. And this year at Weber State, FCS, 9 receptions, 63 yards, and a touchdown in the whole year. And you're going to Alabama? That guy better not see the field. And I know that he got a scholarship. He's not a preferred walk-on. I know that Alabama is offering tight ends of a much lower caliber than you can think. There's just no tight ends to go and get. You had to recruit them out of high school. There's a kid named Zane Rowe right now. He's amazing. Whoever signs him, they got an NFL tight end apparently. I'm starting to think all the best athletes in America that should be playing tight end are playing edge rusher because there's just no tight ends anywhere. This is a terrible signing. Terrible. Bottom 10. Bottom 10 tight end signing right here, right now. Not an Alabama fan in the world can convince me this is a good signing. I won't buy it. I don't believe you. Nothing you can say to change my mind. I assess talent. That's not an FBS caliber player. Rusty VanWetzinga the fourth. Bro, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. It's probably some German name where they say that's not Van with that. I don't know, dude. I read in English. Rusty here, 6 foot, 235. He's more of an H-back, fullback guy. He's really a fullback, an Iowa fullback. He's got a little brother that plays at Iowa right now. He's one of the top centers in America going to Iowa. That's just a great thing. But this young man is looking for playing time, and he wasn't going to get it at Iowa. So initially he was committed to Northern Illinois, which made sense. You go to Northern Illinois, they run the rock all day long. But then Northern Illinois goes out and says, we're no longer in the MAC. We're in the Mountain West now. And this is a Midwest kid. It's a kid from Indiana, from Iowa, I'm sorry, Pleasant Valley. So he don't want to go all the way to the West Coast and play games in the Mountain West. So because of the conference move by Northern Illinois, they lose this kid. And now he's going to play at Central Michigan. Congrats to him. I don't know if he sees the field. I don't know how he contributes. I don't know what's going on. I always felt like he was at Iowa just to get his brother to Iowa. Like a hookup. You know what I'm saying? We'll recruit you to get you. To get your little bro. Camon Overton, looking at the tape. No shade to Camon Overton. Looking at the tape, I was underwhelmed only because I saw Trey Williams right after it. Okay, look, I'm watching tape on these guys trying to figure out who's good, and I'm getting nothing. Nothing moves the meter for me. Nothing's getting me excited. I guess Preston Howard can play football because he's in the FBS, and he looks like an FBS caliber player. The rest of these dudes, nothing's getting me excited. I get to Camden Overton, and I'm like, okay, this is a cool dude, I guess. Played at Marietta High School. I watched him play in high school. I know who he is. Remember, guys, I'm from Georgia. I live in South Carolina right now, but I own a home in Georgia. I right on the border. I follow it all. So coming out of high school, he had some offers. Southern, Gardner-Webb. No, Southern, Georgia State, and he goes to Gardner-Webb. And then here he is. Well, he didn't go Chattanooga first? Yeah, Chattanooga. Then he went to Gardner-Webb. So he played for the Noogs. Nooga, please. So if you don't know the reference, you got to watch my videos. Camden Overton going to Georgia State feels like a relationship-driven move. Congratulations. I'm not sure he's a bona fide FBS guy. And he's got huge shoes to fill. I believe that's Fleming that just left Georgia State. Good tight end. So that one just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's not a slam dunk by any means. But congratulations to that young man for playing at the highest level. And then there's Trey Williams. Trey Williams the third. You guys don't know what that little poof is right there. That's Limestone University, Division II. Shout out to Limestone. Shout out to all their coaches, too. Their coaches just discovered me today. They just started following me on Twitter. I'm talking like all of them. I got like 6 different Limestone coaches start following me in one day. I'm like, what the hell is this about? What are they doing? Well, they just signed one of my quarterbacks, my hidden gem quarterbacks. Shout out to Ian Grissom. He just committed to Limestone today, Division II. And they got this kid named Trey Williams III. Shout out to Trey. I forgot his name on TikTok. It's in my comments. It's a pretty good. It's like a different name. I'm going to tell you guys about Trey Williams III. Trey Williams III really confused me because when I see a name like this, I've never seen him play football. I have to go back and watch as much film as I can. I watch FBS games. I don't know Division II games. I don't know FCS teams. I go back and watch FCS film. I got to go to ESPN Plus, right? So I'm looking for any game I have Limestone on recorded on my hard drive. I have a rated hard drive with all the games from last year. Televised games. I got nothing. So now I got to go look at his huddle film. And I go to his huddle film, and I'm so confused. I do a search on huddle, and it comes back with a quarterback picture in like red, and it says Limestone University, tight end, but it's a quarterback, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I click on the links, I click on the videos, and I'm like, am I watching the quarterback? And I'm watching the plays, and the quarterback almost looks white to me. I'm like, who's this white? I'm looking for a black guy. I'm looking for a tight end. And I don't see a tight end anywhere on the tape. It's weird. I don't see a tight end anywhere. I'm watching the tape, and all I see is this like Anquan Bolden type dude. I see a guy catching passes in the flats. It's the same play over and over and over, essentially. And where I come from, we call it a waggle. You can call it whatever you want. I don't know what coaches call it, different terminology, but it's somewhat like a little arrow route to the flats. From the backfield, he's coming out from like an H-back position, and he's going out to the flats. And he catches it where the quarterback rolls to the same side, and he has the option to run it and throw it. And once the defender commits to the quarterback on a run, then he throws it over his head and just gives this little guy a little dump off. Just let him do his work. And that number 3 is tearing shit up. That number 3 looks like a problem. And I'm watching him, and I keep watching this number 3 just take over every place to number 3. And I'm like, oh, hold up. Maybe this isn't quarterback tape. Maybe it's number 3's tape. Who's number 3? So I go back and I search, and I go, Trey Williams III. Trey. His number is number 3, bro. Hey, hold up. This boy is nice. So how did he get to Limestone? Well, coming out of high school, he was injured. He played in a very small school here in Georgia, a 2A school, moved to 1A. But they were 2A at the time. And he only played about 5 games. He got injured. And then 2021, I think, was canceled due to COVID. Or something was going on where he didn't get to play. And now my dog is humping my arm while I'm doing this show right now. This is real. Shout out to Ash. Okay, mamas, we love you. Shout out to my pit bull. She's over here. She needs some attention. I apologize, guys. I'm a real person. But, so yeah, he got injured, but he's playing quarterback in a wing T offense. And it's hard to show your skills in a wing T offense. But he was also a very good linebacker. And there were 2 Division II schools interested in him. And it was Cumberland University and Shorter. And they wanted him to play linebacker. But he felt he was an offensive kid. He felt he was an offensive weapon. So he decided, I'm going to go take a preferred walk-on, and I'm going to go to West Georgia. And he went to West Georgia for 3 years. And while he was there, they didn't use him. They didn't use him. Them coaches all got fired, bro. All those coaches are fired today. Misevaluating talent. Just letting you know. That's how that's done. So he was not getting the playing time he deserved. He was not doing anything. And he decided, I'm going to transfer once his coaches got fired. And he decided to transfer. And he had to pick a school. And he had a bunch of options. Valdosta State and some other schools. But not too many options because he didn't have a lot of tape. Wasn't being played at Georgia all that often. So he says, man, I'm going to go to Limestone. Well, why did he pick Limestone? Because one of his teammates just had 1,000 yards receiving the year before, and that he was a West Georgia transfer. So he's following another transfer, and the year before that he had about 400 yards. So he said, man, I'm going to go with this guy. I'm going to go to this team that helped one of my buddies be successful. Maybe I can be successful. And, long story short, he became an All-American, and he dominated. And that's what I tell all these kids. If you got to go D2, stop telling me how much they all missed on you. Be All-Conference. Be an All-American. Prove it. And then we'll talk to the FBS coaches for you. Then we'll talk to the FCS coaches for you, and we'll let them all know they missed on you. And we don't even have to say much because they'll know. So Trey Williams showed out, balled out for Limestone. And North Texas came calling. And now we got a problem because that Morris offense is real. North Texas uses everybody, and this looks like a weapon. I think they're going to use him in the slot. I think he's not a blocking tight end at all. He's just a straight weapon. Reminds me so much of another tight end I'm going to talk about here in a few. And I don't want to give that one away. But my favorite tight end in the transfer portal. But it's shout out to Trey Williams. Really neat to stumble onto him. I hope he plays well. I hope they give him an opportunity, and I hope he does what he does. Now I'm going to move over to the chat. Shout out to Ash. Ash is trying to get in on this. I apologize, y'all. It's not very professional of this little lady. But she's just feeling a little lonely. So I'm going to jump to the chat here. If you're on TikTok, thanks for being here. Move over to YouTube. Get your questions in. I got you guys. And then we'll start talking about these guys here. So let's go to the chat. Hopefully we don't have too much chat tonight. We can just get after it. Let me move to the chat. What up, what up, what up? All right. Go to the top. We're going to interact. I'm sorry. Let me do this. Interact. So you guys can see me roll to the top. Mike, if you guys don't know who Mike is a friend of the channel, been on the channel a long time. Mike is a A1, day one, A1, however you want to say it. He says Nebraska, oh, by the way, he's a Nebraska homer. He says Nebraska always known for using and developing tight ends. Very true. Huskers really need offensive lineman, Rocco Spindler. I know all the big boys want him, but this one for me. So the reality is there are a couple offensive linemen that hit the transfer portal from Notre Dame, and Spindler's one of them. And what I'm going to tell you is that the talent is so thin on the offensive line, these guys are going to be highly coveted. People are going to be after them. It's not going to be like last year where Oklahoma and a couple other powerhouses were out there reassembling their entire offensive line. That's not going to happen this year. There's just no one single team that's doing it like that. There actually is. But it's, I'm really impressed with what Virginia did in the offensive line. But everybody is just kind of going to go after these big names. And yes, I would imagine Nebraska's not the only one. Okay, everybody wants the names. Hunter Darling, what up? Hunter Darling has been begging for this damn episode on tight end. He just wants me to do a live stream every single day. If you guys didn't know, I had to take the weekend off. I went to go celebrate and in Florida, watching my daughter in an AAU volleyball tournament. Shout out to my beautiful daughter, Sierra. She's amazing. They had a rough first day. They put them in the losers bracket, and then they went undefeated on the second day and finished, I think, third overall. They killed it, man. I'm so proud of them putting their back against the wall and getting after it. So shout out to my daughter. But it enabled me to push away from the desk for a few days. Went down there by myself. Kim stayed with Ash here at the house, and I was able to do my job for the most part, being a dad, right? Being a dad. And we're probably going to do that at least once or twice a month for the entire off season. I'm going to push away, go hang out with my daughter and all my kids, really, because my son's running track down there, and I got to hang out with my adult daughter as well. We all had a little play date and hung out. We like to do things together. We like to just nerd out a little bit, so shout out to them. We played a deck building game, card game. I don't know if you guys even know what that means. Don't worry about it. It is what it is. Nonetheless, shout out to you, Hunter Darling. I'm getting after it. Got back home and immediately went to the podcast. I will have my father visiting this week. He flies in tomorrow. Today's his birthday. Shout out to you, Pops. Happy birthday, man. Flies out tomorrow. He'll be here for a week. We're going to watch UFC fights together. We're going to do some sightseeing and things and hang out. You just come see the new crib if you guys aren't aware. Kim and I got the dream home in the last couple months, so it feels pretty good. Bauer Sharp image. Oh, the image is Bauer Sharp down here. Yes, it is. Little SELA FCS love. Southeast Louisiana, what up? Southeast Louisiana, the Lions. You guys know, I was actually talking to the new running backs coach, Trey Wiltie, in the DMs on Twitter. I was trying to find a solution to the running back room. We had two guys that we wanted to push their way. I had two running backs that I think could play there and contribute since they lost Antonio Martin Jr. to the transfer portal. He has since committed to Sam Houston and then flipped to ULM. But yeah, I know Southeast Louisiana well. I try to help their coaching staff as best I can. I advise coaches and as many people as I can when they ask for it. And in Twitter, the DMs, they all show up, give a little bit of love, get a little bit of information. We've been talking to Sacramento State all offseason, Southeast Louisiana, and a number of other teams. Shout out to them. And I even talked to NAIA coaching staffs. I don't big-time anybody. I'm grateful to talk to any coach at any echelon because I recognize and realize that they are providing an opportunity for my hidden gems. They're providing an opportunity for the players out there. So I don't care who it is. I know one guy wrote to me, he's like, you think you'd be interested in talking to an NAIA coach? And I'm like, hell yeah. Let me give you a guy I know all about. And I got players lined up for every echelon and every level of football. I try to sort them out by region and level, and I try to get you what you need. But, yeah, it's pretty neat to talk to their staff and try to help them out. It didn't work out, fell through, but we tried. Shout out to them and shout out to him. Evan Kramer, what up, man? He said, welcome in, everybody. Remember to keep all questions tight and related. No Diddy. No Diddy. Shout out to Evan Kramer. He is one of the admins here. Do you know anything about Davin Stoel from South Dakota State? Illinois got him, and I don't know anything about him. So, Shader, I don't watch FCS football every single day. Remember, I follow 134 FBS teams. So when I get a transfer from the FCS, it forces me to go back and watch tape. Now, I know South Dakota State, SDSU. I know South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, fairly well. Probably better than somebody who says they don't know them, right? I probably know them better than, like I tell you, I don't know them, but it's like I can name 20 players on the team. And one guy that they had on that team is Joe Stoel. I'm assuming his older brother, starting tight end for the last couple years, stud. So I'm going to have to look into it. Davin is actually not in my top 25 on this episode, so I am going to talk about him. I know he was up here. I wrote his name down already. Let me see where he comes up. There he is right here. So we'll be talking about him probably in the next episode, definitely in the next episode, because I end this episode on Rocky Beers. So I end on Rocky Beer, so the next episode he'll make the cut. He didn't make the cut this time, but he will be in episode 2 for the tight ends. Remember, I'm going to talk about offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, safeties, and then go back over quarterbacks episode 2, running backs episode 2, wide receivers episode 2, then tight ends episode 2. So it'll be at least 8 episodes, and each episode takes me about 2 or 3 days most time, but sometimes it'll take me a week or 2. You never know. So it'll be a while. I'd say I'll talk about him in a month or 2. Apologies. Got nothing else for you other than that. Rico, my mom said she matched with you on Tinder. Copious highlights. Your mother, along with thousands of other women, have matched with me on Tinder. There are many fake profiles of dudes trying to pretending to be me. It's just African scammers making fake accounts with my pictures, trying to catfish women all over the world, and women fall for it. If you don't believe me, Google Rico. That's my real name. Rico. U.S. Army love scams, and you will see all these fake accounts. Click on images. You will see all these fake accounts of people trying to be me online. I can show you. Look at this. I'll prove it to you guys. So right here, Rico U.S. Army love scams. Hit enter. And then just go in here. Rico's U.S. Army love scam refers to a romance scam where a perpetrator online pretends to be a U.S. Army soldier named Rico to deceive people. It's a real thing. Okay, that's GPT right there. You go click on images, you'll see a bunch of old pictures of me, and they use these for dating apps. All these pictures. They just use these to catfish women. They think they're really talking to me. They're not. They're talking to dudes using my old photos. So just be aware. Shout out to your mom. I know you're making a joke, but it's really happening to people. They think they're meeting me. They're not meeting me. This is me, but these are not my accounts. I'm not trying to talk to these women. This guy says his name is Mark Rico. I've never been Mark Rico. Sometimes they'll say I've been shot in Afghanistan. I was never in Afghanistan. I was in Iraq. They'll just, look at this. All these fake account names. It'll be Perkins Rico, Richard Rico, Stanley, Paul. It's all my pictures, but they're just catfishing women all over the world using my pictures. It's just, it comes with the territory of being very good looking, having tattoos, being fit, in shape. I know I don't show you guys all the time online, but I am a heartthrob for the ladies, and it's been like that for a very long time. I'm just used to it. So it's just a part of my life. It's the harsh reality of my life. It is what it is, bro. Shout out to your mom, though. We'll stay focused. We won't get distracted. Let's see here. Next question, next comment. Sure hope you're doing, appreciate content. Sup, Rico? Hope you're doing, appreciate well. Hope you're doing. Divine Obsidian, thank you. I am doing well, man. Having a good time. Loving my life. You're Travis Hunter. Hey, I'm telling you, I was, Sean. I was. Some chicks just straight evil, I swear. You know, that's not even the most evil thing that's ever happened to me in my life. I don't know. I've probably been worse than any woman. I'm just going to keep it real. I've probably been worse than any woman out there. I've done some pretty diabolical shit to women. Like, I'm not innocent. But I can tell you this, in that regard, right? I once gave a woman an hour to move out of my house. We were renting a house together, and she was an alcoholic, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I said, you just need to leave. You got an hour. Pack your stuff. And I'm going to leave while you pack it. She took my shower curtains. That was a bold move, bro. That was a cold move. She took the shower curtains. She took the cereal. She took a couple of my military awards, which can never be replaced. She took a couple of my plaques and stuff. Yeah, it was a cold move, man. And when I got home, the house was missing those things, and I was just grateful that she wasn't there anymore. But she did take some things that mattered to me, so that was pretty ballsy. Pretty evil, if you ask me. But no, she didn't do me dirty or nothing like sleeping with my best friend or nothing like that. Like, I ain't lived that life, bro. What do you think about Syracuse's schedule, and should they get another quarterback out of the portal? Matthew, I have not assessed Syracuse's schedule at all. I just don't do that, and I probably wouldn't give that answer out for free. That is something I would share with my gamblers on Patreon. So if you become an MVP, that's a perfect question for the MVPs. I will give them a futures bet and things of that nature. Now, should they get another quarterback out of the portal? Every team should try to get better players out of the portal, improve your 85. So if there's a quarterback in the portal that's better than the current quarterbacks on their roster, then by all means, go get another quarterback. But if they don't see any players on the portal better than what they have on the team, then there's no need to go get one. I don't make those assessments for the most part. I don't project what teams need to sign. I assess what teams have needed to sign. There's a huge difference between me and everybody else. There are websites in this world that exist where all they do is talk about projections. So-and-so's down to his top 6, his top 4 for recruiting. These are the recruiting websites, 24/7, On3, all that. Down to their top this, top that, top that. And they're just waiting and guessing where somebody's going to go. I don't waste any energy on that kind of stuff. I assess results, and I'm really good at assessing results. So instead of asking me, should Syracuse get another quarterback in the portal, what I will tell you is when they get another quarterback in the portal, I will assess how smart was that move by that player or the school. That's kind of the inverse of that. That's what I do. So please understand that, okay? Connor Kimenow? What up, Connor Kimenow? He says, I know he'll be in the next tight end episode, but do you think Vince Brown is a solid depth addition for Missouri behind Norfleet and Jordan Harris? I don't know about a solid depth addition, I apologize, but yes, I'll definitely have to assess it in the next episode. But I want to tell you that I'm not impressed with the vast majority of tight end signings at this point. I'm just not even a little bit. That's how I feel. Who replaced Syracuse tight end after Rondé Gatson just left? I don't know. I will be checking spring football like everybody else, and then I will assess the talent of the position group after spring football. I don't try to guess who's going to be starting. There's no point. Like, it's wasted energy to try to guess who's going to be in a position group when you can find out in a couple of months. So I don't waste any cycles of my day, of my life, guessing at stuff like that. Like, do you guys understand the difference? Like, I deal with factual results, actual things, while the vast majority of talking heads on TV or the Twitter or the internet, all they do is just guess. That's a fan page. They got nothing else to talk about. So they'll just be like, okay, who's going to be our starting wide receivers next year? And they're just going to talk about it. And they have no idea that all you have to do is not use that subject for that day. You don't have to talk about it. And then in August, you'll know who the starting wide receivers are, and then you can assess how good they are. You can assess results instead of guessing results. Huge difference. Shout out to you, man. I got no answer for you. Easton says, is Drew Biber any good? A starter or a backup for Minnesota? I'm going to talk about it on this episode, so please stick around, Easton. To answer your question point blank, because I don't want to blow you off, is Drew Biber any good? What a subjective question. By my assessment, if Drew Biber is good, then Purdue magically had 3 of the top 25 tight ends in America, supposedly. Because according to the transfer portal, Purdue has 3 of the top 25 tight ends. Where do we come up with this shit? I'm just being real. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. It's wild to me. I don't think he starts in Minnesota. Once again, I'm not into guessing, but I'm here to assess the results. He's going to Minnesota. He does not look like one of the better tight ends on the Minnesota roster. That tight end room lost 1 player. Minnesota's tight end room lost 1 player. There's 5 guys returning. And you're bringing the backup from Purdue? For what? It's dumb. Does it improve your 85? Sure. Is he better than some of the guys in the room? I'm pretty sure he is. Dumb. And then they try to tell me it's a top move. It's all over the fucking list. And I'm like, what is this? Rico Live. What up? What up? Glad to see you're doing well, Rico. Thank you, Fear Metro. I appreciate you. North Texas does use everybody. They do. Rico cutting off funding to TikTok. I don't know what you mean. I don't have no funding to them. Thoughts on Dorian Fleming? Complete stud. Complete monster. I think I talked about him in the wide receiver episode because according to the recruiting websites, they have wide receivers, tight ends mixed together, and then they have this other list of just tight ends. It's really weird. But Dorian Fleming, complete stud. Love everything about him. Daniel Henderson says, hey, Rico, seeing if you're going to get to Pascuzzi. I'm not. Pascuzzi is not in the next episode either. Ooh. I don't see him. He's not going to be on this episode. He might be on wide receivers episode because he's not listed under just tight ends. So it's not my website, bro. It's not my website. Pop's going to break out the turntables. No, Steve, I don't think he's bringing anything, and no Jacob Barrett either. I don't think he's bringing any DJ equipment with him. He's bringing 1 suitcase and a carry-on, but it'll be straight. To be fair, I keep my mom off the internet. Shout out to you, Steve. Congratulations. It's probably a good idea to keep moms off the internet. Some of them are finding the worst shit on the internet. Let me tell you. My bad, Rico. I forgot you made a video on that. I don't know what you're talking about, Copious, but yes. Lesson learned, help her pack. Word, Steve. Help her pack. Stay there, help her pack. No matter how much drama's involved, you got to help her. Really excited about Terrance Carter. Surprised Texas Tech, Houston, and Oklahoma State were the only major offers for him. Well, I don't know if they were the only major offers for him. I don't know that. No, but nobody really knows because they're not going to tell you. But they're also looking for what they call inline tight ends, which are guys that can play on the offensive line and block. Whatever, bro. Whatever. They missed out on a good player. They missed out on the best tight end in the whole transfer portal. Cade, I'm being real. Terrance Carter is the best tight end in the whole transfer portal. I don't miss on stuff like this. I don't. Every year, if I tell you that's the best player in this particular group, in this particular, I don't miss. That's just, I'm right. So, yo, what up, Rico? What up, Rocco Glaze? Good to see you, man. Easton says, is Biber better or worse than Jameson Gears? Who is more likely going to be the starter? Yeah, man, I don't have to guess at that. I don't have to guess at that at all. There'll be spring football, and they'll iron it out, and then you'll know the answer, and I'll know the answer. I can't just sit here and guess at things because then I'd get it wrong, and then I wouldn't be RicoKnows. Feel me? Is Jakari Williams a good fit at Syracuse? So, I don't know. I don't know where we're coming up with this stuff. I don't know. I don't know what you guys are doing. I just told you I don't guess at this shit. And you guys just keep asking me to guess at it. It's a waste of my time. Rico, after you do the transfer portal, are you going to do the draft? I never finish the transfer portal. The transfer portal goes all off season. I will do the draft in April when it matters. But I don't. I do the draft in like 3 videos. I do the entire draft, and then I live stream the draft, and I talk about every single draft pick when it happens. And then I assess every draft class after the draft. I don't guess at the draft. I don't do mock drafts. I don't give a fuck who's drafting who. I assess it after the fact. You guys need to get out of the habit. Like, all of you guys consume sports one way. All of you. I can see it right here. All of you consume sports the same way. You sit here and just try to project or guess at what's going to happen instead of assessing what has happened. I want you to think of Sports Center. And if Sports Center's talking about the results of a game, none of you guys watch that Sports Center. None of you guys care about the results of the game because you already saw it. You don't care about the results. I live for the results. I want to hear about the assessment. I want to hear about the hindsight. I want to hear about what you got to say after the fact because that's what content I make. I make assessment content. You guys want to sit here and just guess at stuff. Go guess who's going to be the starter in this and that. That doesn't intrigue me in the slightest. I've literally not looked at any team starting lineups. I don't care. I looked at one, Florida, because I did their futures bet video. But I'm not going to look at anybody else. It's a waste of energy. It's literally a waste of my time. Literally. All right, let's go talk about these transfers. These transfer tight ends. So the first transfer, I'll get back to the chat. Just throw it back in there. Let it build back up. We'll get back to it, I promise. Okay? Just let it build back up. We'll get back to the chat. All right, so the first transfer tight end that they have ranked at the top, and I apologize, I'm moving my charts here, is Max Klare. And I just got through telling you guys that magically Purdue had all the best transfer tight ends. This is not true. This is just like this because he's going to Ohio State. And the recruiting websites, they just assume, well, if you're a tight end at Ohio State and you're probably going to start, if you're better than Jelani Thurman, then you got to be the best tight end in the portal. If Ohio State wanted you got to be the best. That's their logic. That is absurd. Max Klare is not the best tight end in the transfer portal. He does have 2 years of eligibility left. He is a good receiving threat. He did lead Purdue in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. And when you read about this Max Klare kid, all he ever says is, I want to play against Caleb Downs every single day. I think that'll get me ready for the NFL. Playing against Caleb Downs in practice every day, then I get to the games, it'll be easier. Cool. Do your thing. Now, he played his high school ball in Ohio. He did. He went to the same high school as Luke Kuechly. He's a stud of a dude. Got it. But I don't know if he's the best tight end in the portal. The rating's absurd. Not .92. That doesn't work for me. Nothing I've seen from him warrants that type of shit. I think he's probably top 5. Probably. But he's definitely not number 1. Then there's Luke Hasz. Luke Hasz is number 1A, 1B for me. He's a complete monster. And Luke Hasz is one of these guys. He went to Bixby. If you don't know, Bixby is a powerhouse of a high school in Oklahoma. I believe they won the state title like 5-6 years in a row. It was all because of them brothers. Who are them brothers? The dudes at Oklahoma State. The Presley brothers. Braylon and what was the other? Braylon and Braylon? I don't know. They're amazing. Their high school film is outrageous. Only one worked out. But nonetheless, Bixby has everything, and Luke Hasz is one of those guys. A complete alpha male. I thought it was going to be Var'Keyes Gums. And I want to say I'm all out on Var'Keyes Gums. I missed on Var'Keyes Gums. I thought he was a hidden gem. I thought he was an NFL talent. And if he becomes one, I'm probably going to take credit for it because I've been talking about it for 2 years. But I'm all out on him. I actually think he's he's just not one of my guys. I think he's a loser. I don't understand it. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But when I watched Var'Keyes Gums on tape, I was so impressed with him that when he transferred to Arkansas, I was like, yo, he's the next star at Arkansas. No, he's not. Luke Hasz is. Luke Hasz is my guy. He's my number 1 or number 2 tight end in the portal. It's out of him and Terrance Carter. So I have a lot of respect for Luke Hasz. I think he's amazing. For him to go to Ole Miss, he's going to pick up where he left off. This is the second starter that Ole Miss has gotten from Arkansas. They got a DB to transfer in, but he's not going to be the starter at all. But Patrick Cuttis, the offensive lineman, he'll be in the starting lineup, and Luke Hasz will be a day 1 starter. He's great. So this is a stud of a player, and there's no way he should be ranked below Max Klare. If these guys were on the same team, Luke Hasz would be the starter. That's how good he is. Tanner Koziol, nobody is statistically better than Tanner Koziol. Nobody. Yes, he is 6'7", 237. He's a great receiving threat. He scored 18 touchdowns the last 3 years. He's amazing. And, for him to go sign at Wisconsin, they wanted to sign him right away. And that was because they wanted a quarterback to commit to them. And they got a quarterback. They got Billy Edwards Jr. to come over from Maryland. I think Wisconsin's going to be sneaky good next year. I really believe in Wisconsin. I know Luke Fickell looks like he's been struggling 2 years in a row. But there's just something about the recruiting classes they've been bringing in for the last couple of years and the development of players that believe in you. Remember, the first year, half that roster isn't yours. It's what you inherited. They don't even want to be there. They don't believe in your system. The next 2 years, you're getting your recruits, you're getting your guys in. You're losing players here and there, but you bring in a young man like Tanner Koziol. Last offseason, he was supposed to go to Louisville. And then he turned it down, and he didn't go to Louisville. And this is one of these dream come true moves for him where he always wanted to play in the Big Ten. But he passed on Illinois, and he's going to Wisconsin, which is very surprising. That's a good player, man. It's a good player. I hope they use him. A good player. And you guys know, I like production versus potential. To see Tanner Koziol ranked right next to Platt, Jamari Johnson, like these are potential guys who've really done nothing to impress me. This is a stud that's actually dominated on Saturdays. Stud. And very, very dependable, Max Klare. So we'll get to Jaden Platt here. And Jaden Platt, I wrote down a note. Big blocking tight end, and then I did something crazy. I said, hasn't done anything to warrant this type of ranking. But Arkansas just trying to find an answer after losing two very good tight ends on the roster. They go and get Jaden Platt. And they got to find an answer, and he's built the way you would anticipate. He's that guy. So more power to him. Shout out to Arkansas. It's been 3 years now. Arkansas has signed transfers I would never sign. For 3 years in a row now, they just and there's a new team taking that crown, and it's UNLV, by the way. UNLV has just UNLV, I've never seen a bigger collection of cancer in my life. UNLV is just cancer central. It really is. But Arkansas has been notorious for signing players where, like, if I saw a player and they hit the portal, I'm like, character concerns, or recruiting miss, whatever. It just looks lazy. And Arkansas goes, that's our guy. That's our guy. He's better than any high school guy we're going to find, so let's go get him. And shout out to Platt. I hope he plays great. Hope he lives up to the hype. Jamari Johnson reminds me of a fat Kelvin Benjamin. You guys remember Kelvin Benjamin? Maybe Kelvin Benjamin's a little better than this kid. But Kelvin Benjamin was a good wide receiver coming out of Florida State. And then he got to Carolina Panthers, gained a bunch of weight, and he just became a fat 6'5" guy. That's kind of how Jamari Johnson is. He's a fatter 6'5" guy. But he's kind of sneaky good. And he's going to Oregon. Oregon has some other really stellar players. So they might take away some coverage from this guy and give him a chance. He'll be the backup. He's not better than Sadiq. Kenyon Sadiq is the starting tight end. So this will be that 1-2 punch you need. It's fine. It is what it is. Good signing. All potential. No production. And then we have Terrance Carter. Terrance Carter, the recruiting websites refuse to believe that they missed this bad. Newsflash, you missed this bad. Terrance Carter is a stud. He's only 6'2", about 239, 235. They say he said it'd be 240 someday, whatever. Terrance Carter's a receiving tight end and a beast. Absolute monster. I started talking about him during the season while at Louisiana, letting everybody know we're betting on Terrance Carter. He's going to get us our yards. He's going to do it, and he let us down 1 week. But he can't throw himself the ball. But if you get him the ball, he's amazing. Now, Texas Tech, cupboard's not bare. John Carlos Miller transferred in from Elon, I believe, 2 years ago. He's still there, so that's an FCS stud. So you got these two. They've been knocking it out the park, bargain shopping, finding these guys at the lower echelons and using them. And now this is just a solid move for me. Terrance Carter is my number one tight end, right up there with Hasz. Now, I think Luke Hasz is probably better, but they're right up there. 1 and 2. Watching them on tape is a joy. I really believe in them. Watching Colin Weber on tape leaves me scratching my head. I don't know what's elevating this. They improved his ranking to a 3-star with a .89 rating, which is one of the highest 3-stars you can have if you didn't know .9 as your 4-star level. So he's the highest 3-star can pretty much be. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that he had an offer from Indiana and Illinois. So they're just like, oh, he's got to be good if he's got an offer from Indiana, Illinois. And that's kind of how this all works. These teams just start recruiting each other and just going, yeah, go get him. But this is a guy with 1 year of eligibility left, 6'4", 255. He can do everything. I would say he's more of a blocker, the inline tight end type still, but he's fine. Nothing too special. Speaking of nothing too special, there's Luke McGary. I told you these tight ends leave a lot to be desired. Luke McGary being ranked this high is really weird to me. I have every Tulsa game recorded on my rated hard drives. So I went through every Tulsa game, and I started looking for this kid. I always wanted to watch him on tape. Never had more than 50 yards receiving in his life. In a game, never had more than 50 yards. Typically, he gets about one catch for 11 yards in a game. I'm not joking. I watched 6 games, 1 reception in each game. And they got him up here. But I guess he's better than all these other dudes. I guess. I don't know. This is weird. And then you go and look. Luke McGary, I'm going to read off his offers, bro. This guy is the ultimate insignificant player at Tulsa. One of the worst teams in America. Listen to his offers. TCU, Texas State, Cal, Duke, Houston, Mississippi State, Oklahoma State, NC State, Georgia Tech, BYU, Nevada, Washington, Oklahoma, Colorado, Kansas, and LSU. Everybody's drooling for a Tulsa tight end. And I'm telling you, he's going to go to Houston and be nobody. I watched the Tulsa transfers last year. If you didn't know, 2 Tulsa wide receivers transferred to Houston. Houston has a pipeline of talented players from Tulsa coming over to Houston. And they're doing nothing. Not a fuck thing. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know who anointed this kid and made him great. I watched the tape. It's a fucking snooze fest. Weird as hell. Bauer Sharp, former high school quarterback. Southeast Louisiana for 3 years. Went to Oklahoma. Now he's going to LSU. How good is Bauer Sharp? Made a ton of mistakes this year. Struggles with blocking. Can catch some passes. I don't know what we're doing. Finished the year with 42 receptions, 324 yards. Hey, LSU says they can get him the ball. Okay, man, get it for him. I'm going to tell you guys something. One of his biggest games this year was against Temple. If you take away that Temple game, this dude is just the most average-ass dude I ever seen. These tight ends leave a lot to be desired, bro. A lot. I'm so much more impressed with some of the other guys that I was talking about, like Trey Williams. I'm more impressed with Trey Williams, this 0-star guy that they won't evaluate, that's going to North Texas. I'm telling you, I'm more impressed with him than any of these bozos. These guys are not good. It's just Power 4 teams passing their backups to each other. Drew Biber, backup tight end at Purdue. Apparently, Purdue had 2 of the best tight ends in America, and they're transferring to other Big Ten teams. You couldn't play. I don't get it, bro. Drew Biber's played 25 games. I checked the school website. 25 games. And in those 25 games, 2 receptions. What are we doing? Then, this year, he had 13 receptions for 113 yards. And that makes you one of the best tight ends in the transfer portal. I don't know what we're talking about, bro. I don't know. I don't have a clue. Minnesota doesn't need a tight end. They got 5 returning. This guy doesn't make sense. Whatever. One of the worst transfers I've seen. Nate Boerkircher. Leaving Nebraska, going to A&M, and you rank it this high. Why? What? I wrote this down. 5 starts. 2023. 5 starts. Six receptions, 102 yards in his life. 6 receptions, 102. In his whole college career, he has 6 catches. And they're telling me he's one of the top tight ends. And he's going to A&M. Weird, bro. I know A&M lost 2. I know they lost 2 to graduation and 1 to the portal. I know they lost 3 tight ends. Okay. It's going to get worse. Khamari Anderson, this one's actually a little intriguing. He will be a backup. He's going to Arizona State. This was a backup tight end at Kentucky. The only reason I say it's intriguing is he has 2 years of eligibility left. He did choose Arizona State over Auburn and Colorado. No one's expecting him to start. Mateer is going to be the starter. He's coming back. But losing Douglas, right? Douglas is leaving, Marcusson Douglas, for a senior year. He's going back to Florida State, where he came from. Go back to where you came from. And they do have Harpool, though. Cameron Harpool, the junior tight end. So it's like the tight end room's already deep. You're just bringing in. Look, no shade at Arizona State. They found a young man who's probably third string. Probably third string. And if he doesn't mind being third string, congratulations. You went from a losing team to a winning team. But you're going to be third string. So it's a great move for Arizona State to bolster up their tight end room. Terrible move for this young man. If he gets on the field, that'll be news to me. News to me. Speaking of news to me, Will Huggins going to Oklahoma. This is bargain shopping like you ever seen. This is just embarrassing that Oklahoma would sign Will Huggins. They're just looking for anybody. Will Huggins, forget this that he's coming from Pittsburgh State. I don't care about that. Will Huggins was at Kansas for 4 years. That's why they want him. For 4 years. And in 4 years, I went and looked it up. He played in 8 games from 2021, 2022, 2023. He played in 8 games, 31 total snaps in 3 years. 10 snaps a year at Kansas. Goes down to Division II, Pittsburgh State, the Gorillas. And it's crazy because he played okay. 22 receptions, almost 400 yards, and a touchdown. Division II, this guy got 22 receptions. What's he going to do? So he jumps in the portal, and he's committed to go to Washington State. He picked Washington State over, I wrote this down, picked Washington State over Toledo, Ball State, Miami of Ohio, Nevada, Kent State, UTEP, MTSU, EMU, and Northern Arizona. Does any of that sound like Oklahoma in the SEC? No! So we're talking about a young man that was borderline FBS. And then Washington State, Jake Dickert leaves, and he goes to Wake Forest. So then the young man jumps back in the portal. And then he gets a call from Oklahoma? Desperate as hell. They'll take anybody, not a high school recruit, and they sign this kid. He can't play at Oklahoma. Couldn't play at Kansas, can't play at Oklahoma. Dumbest signing I've seen in a while. Shout out to the young man. I hope he got paid. Doesn't make sense. Oklahoma bargain shopping. He can't be competitive signing players like that. Var'Keyes Gums. Told you I'm all out on Var'Keyes Gums. Shout out to him. The reason I'm all out is I had no idea that he was dismissed from the Arkansas football team for unspecified reasons. If you're ever kicked off of a football team, listen, guys. You should probably get a second chance in life. You should probably get a second chance at a lower echelon. But I'm not the one to give you that second chance. I'm not your coach. I don't care. I assess results. I am a results-oriented person. I do not personally care about any of these players. I don't know them. I'm not going to pretend to know them. I'm not going to pretend anything. I might talk to them in the DMs. I might know who they are because they reach out to me or whatever. But I'm not your father. Look, I won't date a girl who's got kids because I don't want to play fucking stepdad. I'm not here to be the guy to care about you like that, bro. If you made a mistake and you got kicked off a team, I don't give a shit. I got about 20 other players that want to play on that team and would be law-abiding citizens and rule-following players. Academically eligible, not do a drug, not strike a woman, not disrespect a coach. Like, I got guys who are going to walk the straight and narrow and do the right thing. But if you're substandard and you have poor decision-making, I'm not the guy that has to give you a second chance. I'm not. You know, there's dudes out there, they'll cheat on their girl. She don't need to give you a second chance, bro. She doesn't. Just leave. She doesn't have to forgive you. And her friends don't have to like you. You know who has to like you? The next girl that's willing to take a chance on you. But don't tell me I'm a bad person because I don't accept your cheating ways. Or I don't acknowledge that people make mistakes. I don't have to, bro. Go talk to somebody else who's going to give you that chance. I ain't the one. You feel me? So when you're substandard on a team and you get kicked off, I don't care. I'm not that invested in you. We just keep it moving. Var'Keyes Gums going to UNLV. UNLV, I called this like weeks ago, right? You guys remember this? UNLV just signing all the shitbags. I told you this. They're just signing. They don't care. They're just signing bodies, cancerous people. They don't care. They have no desire to have any type of camaraderie other than, dude, last chance you. Straight up. Replacements. These dudes are out here playing prison ball, bro. They don't care. They're just trying to find bodies of people. It's crazy. I've never seen a coaching staff give less of a shit about the character of players than UNLV. It's wild. It's absolutely disgusting what they're doing. I haven't recommended a single player go to UNLV, not one. They talk to me in the DMs. They're like, hey, where should I transfer to? Not UNLV, bro. Why not? I don't want you to get shot in the locker room. They're going to be shooting dice in the corner, bro. Oh, Rico, that's racist. That's racist. No, it's not. It's stereotypical. There's no discrimination, though. I'm not discriminating based upon race. I'm making stereotypes. When I get cut off in traffic, you know what I do? Ask him. Oh, man, what is she doing? What is she doing? Oh, it's a true story. Zach Atkins, transfer. Coming from Northwest Missouri State. That's what that little Paul is right there. Northwest Missouri State going to Colorado. Looks like a player. I will say this. He had offers from LSU, Arkansas, Pitt, Cal, Ole Miss, West Virginia, South Carolina, and others. Okay. Bro, across 9 games, homie had 18 receptions. That comes across as a young man who's not demanding the football. Comes across as a young man who's not sweating it, bro. I don't need a whole lot of catches. I'm here to block. I'm here to get on the line of scrimmage and do my thing. And if there was ever a position group at Colorado where you can just show up and contribute, it's the tight end room. I need people to remember Savell Smalls took over that position group this year, and Savell Smalls still didn't have a great year. Like, people will tell you he had a great year. He had 8 receptions for 66 yards, okay? So, but to see a guy who is a 5-star defensive end, failed recruit, a bust, if you will, eventually find his way onto the field just out of sheer athleticism and ability, that's special and that's cool. But that's also letting you know how terrible the tight end group is at Colorado. Like, if just a backup defensive end who didn't pan out can show up and take over the tight end room, chances are your tight end talent's pretty substandard. Okay, so to see Zach Atkins come in, I think he has an ability to get on the field and contribute. He has 2 years of eligibility. So it looks like a good signing by my assessment. It looks like a good signing because I believe the talent in that position group is very bad at Colorado. I just do. If you can get a failed defensive end to become your starter, yeah, you got a bad tight end room. Straight up. Nobody else can do that anywhere in America. Just right there. Tayvion Galloway, shout out to this young man. I did a high school film review on him 2 years ago, and I famously said, this does not look like an SEC recruit. And I was right 100%. At the time, the young man was a 4-star, committed or at least verbally offered by Kentucky. So they sent me a film review, got a donation, told me do a film review on this guy. I looked at the tape and said, hey, he looks fine. He doesn't look like an SEC recruit to me, not at all. And I was right. Eventually, he ended up going to Purdue. By the way, that's the 3rd Purdue tight end in the top 25. Fucking not even top 25, top 20. This is the rankings, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Almost top 15. They want me to believe that Purdue had 3 tight ends in the top 15 in the transfer portal. I don't believe you, bro. I think this is stupid. This kid never played. Redshirted this year. I roll my eyes every time I see him on any list. Anytime they tell me this guy, he's 6'5", 235, 240, 250. He went to, is it Pinkerton? Pingington? People get mad at me for the way I say it. The Ohio school. Look, man, he knows what he's up against. He's not that good. But going to MTSU is a pretty smart move. It's a great transfer for him. Remember, Holden Willis was their starting tight end. He made us a ton of money. Shout out to the MVPs. Holden Willis is a good tight end. So Holden Willis is graduating. He's gone. And now you need a guy. Now they also have another transfer, the kid from La Tech coming in, Hunter Tipton. Tipton kind of looks more like an H-back, fullback type. But Galloway looks like a traditional tight end that could probably be used eventually. There's another guy on tape, Evan. I can't say his last name. Starts with a P. MTSU. They have another tight end. He's young. Evan Picher, some shit like that. Looks good. So Tayvion, Galloway, Evan, those guys move me. But I've never really bought into the hype of Tayvion Galloway being a Power 4 kid, he was a camp all-star, if you will. I just never bought into it, man. I watched the tape and just went, oh, that doesn't translate. That doesn't work for me. It didn't look that good. Connor Cox. That's Cox with an X, not a CKS. Connor Cox going to North Carolina. Now, coming out of high school, he's coming out of Jacksonville, went to South Carolina. Don't get it twisted. He's actually not from Jacksonville, Florida. He's actually from Carolina. He just did his senior year down in Florida. This is a North Carolina kid. He played his ball at Raleigh. So going back to North Carolina, going somewhere he's comfortable with. North Carolina just lost 2 tight ends. Who were they? I forgot their names. But I know they still have Jake Johnson. So Brad Johnson's son, the transfer from Texas A&M, kid from Oconee County here in Georgia. Love Jake Johnson's game. So to see Connor Cox show up, I hope he contributes. I hope he does some great things. I'm going to read my notes here and see what else I had to say. He opted out this year. That's right. He played a little bit, opted out to save his eligibility. It is what it is. Smart move. Get another year. Copenhaver and Nesbitt are the guys who are gone. So now you have Cox there. Go to North Carolina. I think it's pretty decent. I watched his huddle tape. He has a large catch radius. He can bail you out if you're inaccurate as a quarterback because he can just catch anything. So that's pretty cool. And he was a lacrosse player. So you can tell he didn't take football seriously for a while. He was playing lacrosse in the spring. And that's fine. But at some point you got to lock in and be like, yo, I'm going to do this from now on. So shout out to him. Cody Hardy. Turn on the Elon tape. This is a lineman. He didn't look like anybody catching passes. In his whole time there, I think last year he caught 6 passes for 36 yards and a touchdown. Dude, you're getting guys with less than 10 receptions on a season. This is a damn blocking monster. Like he's a lineman. 6'5", 270. He's not doing much. Not a receiving threat at all. I know he took trips to Auburn and one other place, Mississippi State. But he decided, I'm going to go to NC State. That's cool. Regionally makes sense. Shout out to you. Mason Minnie going from, this one I'm a little excited about. Mason Minnie here. Leaving Idaho and going to Cal. I'm a little excited about it. He flipped. He was going to go to Michigan State. And then he decided he's going to Cal because he's from about an hour away from Cal. I went and watched his huddle tape. It's from about an hour away from Cal. He's a Northern California kid. So that's pretty cool. I will tell you that his offensive grade on PFF was like under 50. I've never seen one under 50, so I don't know what that looks like. But he still had offers from Boston College, Wake Forest, Washington State, UNLV, New Mexico, Tulane, and some others. But for me, it just looks like, congratulations to Cal for getting a young kid. I think he still has a lot of years of eligibility left. Let me say something about Michigan State, though. For you to lose this transfer to Cal, it sucks. They're going to need another tight end. Michigan State's room, Jack Valing's the only guy who's coming back. I'm not impressed with Michigan State's tight end room. I think they're going to sign somebody in the spring, and they might have to tamper with somebody because there is nobody in the portal right now that looks like they can really contribute. Like the available tight ends that are left, I had their names running at the bottom of the screen when I started the show. If you go back, 3 of those guys are FBS guys. The rest are just it's a tough one. It's a tough one. And that's how I feel. I'm sorry, I just got a text from my pops right now while I'm doing the show. I apologize. And the last guy I'm going to talk about is Rocky Beers. Rocky Beers leaving FIU, going to Colorado State. Rocky Beers going back to Colorado, and I say going back to Colorado because he played his first 3 years at Air Force before he transferred to FIU. He went to FIU, I believe, to go be with his brother, Rowdy Beers. Seriously, he's got a brother named Rowdy. So you got Rocky and Rowdy. Rowdy gave up football and became a firefighter. He's got a sister named Reagan. She plays basketball at Oklahoma. But being a former Air Force guy, that's Fort Carson, right? You're going back. You're going to Colorado State. And here you go. Go over there and go do some great things. Rocky can play. He just got injured this year. He played in one game. He was the starter at FIU, and then he was injured for the whole season. Hamstring issue. So, theoretically, he's got 1 year of eligibility left. Go do your thing. He's a grown man. And usually these types of transfers work out for Colorado State. Remember when Holker showed up? And he played great. Similar, I don't know if this kid is that good, but Rocky Beers out here doing it. So those are all the tight ends I wanted to talk about in this episode. I'm going to jump to the chat one final time before we wrap this up. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for believing in me. If you're on TikTok and you're watching, just move over to YouTube. You can drop it in the chat, and I will answer the questions. I will interact with you. Thank you guys for being here. Let me go over here and interact. And let's see what we got, and we'll wrap up the show. Interact. There we go. Do you think Randy Pittman? Have you assessed Ricky Collins? I think I have. Ricky Collins is a damn quarterback, bro. That's a quarterback episode. I already talked about it. Go watch the quarterback episode. Matthew, go watch the quarterback episode. I do it by position group for a reason. I think Cameron Beecham withdrew from the portal after Fresno hired Brian Ferentz. So, Donnie, that's what you might think. But that is not what happens. When somebody withdraws from the portal, they're just going back to class. They're going to jump back in the spring. 90% of them. We'll see what happens. Never forget, Booger McFarland, he's a Popeye biscuit away from being a tight end. There you go. He's talking about Kelvin Benjamin. How do you feel about Georgia Tech's tight ends going into this year? Look pretty good. I like Georgia Tech's entire roster. I think they're looking like a really good team. So I like Georgia Tech and what they're doing. Jake, shout out to you. Hunter Edwards, hey Rico, big fan of your work and enjoy learning about college football from you. I know he didn't play at Florida this past season, but could Dawson Johnson spark ODU's offense this next season? That'll be news to me. I have no idea. I won't assess the ODU until probably June or July. So just keep an eye. If you're an MVP, you know the deal. I'll get to their win total then, and I'll talk about it. But as of right now, I'm not tracking any such impact. Damn, neither of Indiana's tight end transfers made the list. Just waiting for episode 2 on tight ends, or were you unimpressed with them? Talking Comics, I do not determine or dictate the list. 24/7 Sports does. Let me make that very clear. I do not give my own rankings or ratings on these tight ends. I've done that already somewhat on Twitter. If you go look around, I do not dictate these charts. These charts are done by 24/7. That's who I go over. As far as Indiana goes, I think that they sign very good players. I like who they get. They were on the list if you go check the wide receiver episode. So if I can explain what's happening, I'm going to show you right now. I'm scrolling back up so I can prove it to you. It's just the way the website works out. It has nothing to do with me or my rankings, but I'll give you an example. Because somebody already asked about Dorian Fleming, and I want to pull up, give me a second here, the wide receiver list just so I can show you guys. So if you look at wide receivers on 24/7 Sports, out of nowhere, if you look at their wide receivers list, they will have tight ends mixed within the wide receivers. Those tight ends are not on the tight end list I just talked about. They were on the wide receiver episode. So they have tight ends here that are not on the tight end list, which is really weird. It's not, it's their program and it has nothing to do with me. So if we were to go to enrolled, just like this, and we look at who's enrolled, and we scroll down to wide receivers, and you see the wide receivers that are enrolled, you might see a couple tight ends, like 3 of them. And I've already talked about Holden Stays in the previous episode. So that's what you're probably looking for. I've already talked about Riley Williams. I've already talked about Kenyon Burnett. I've already talked about some of these guys. I just talked about Douglas tonight. Harry Lodge. Did not talk about Boyer. I think I talked about Nikowski already. I did. Riley, yep, I did. So that was all the first wide receiver episode. Go back on the live tab and look for the wide receiver episode, and I talk about them talking comics. Yep. Great job as always. Thanks, Rico. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you guys for spending time with me. Rico, do you pay attention to the Senior Bowl or East-West versus Shrine Bowl? Easton, people will watch the practices and pay attention to the drills and do all that kind of. I don't give a shit about any of that, man. Those players, I've watched them play football for the last 5 years. Nothing they're doing in those workouts is new to me. I'm not learning anything new about the players. You're learning about different players that you've never heard of because you didn't watch all their games. You don't watch every level of football. You don't know who the hell that guy is. Like Balil Cohn, I saw him doing DB drills. I made a video about him when he was at Indiana State, the Sycamores, before he transferred to the FBS. And I saw him doing drills today on one-on-one drills. And they're like, oh, look at this 6'2 corner making these plays. And he shut down Jimmy Horn or he shut down Shepard and all that. And I'm like, bro, what are we doing? I made a video on this guy 2 years ago. It's just, I can't watch sports with people who don't eat, breathe, sleep, shit this thing, because we're just not on the same level. And it's hard for me to. That's why I don't watch games with people. I don't personally go anywhere. I watch games here live stream on the Discord server with the MVPs, but you won't see me in a sports bar somewhere. You won't see me at a sporting event. I can't be around a bunch of people who are ignorant as fuck, just don't know what's going on. I can't do it. I can't handle it, bro. Have you ever watched me and listened to me watching a UFC fight? Could you imagine I'm sitting next to a dude and he's like, just F him up, man. Just punch him. Just do it. And I'm like, what? He's pummeling for underhooks, bro. He's got to get this. Like, I'm very technical and I'm very analytical. I cannot just be a regular. I can't shut it off. I can't be around people like that. I'm not cool to be around, bro. I don't watch NFL games to begin with. And those aren't college football games, so I don't know what the fuck they are. But you can pay attention to them if you want because you got no football going on. I'm good. I'm studying for next year. I don't have time to be. I don't do things for leisure. This is a job. I'm studying the transfer portal because I got to know these rosters and get ready for win totals. I got to know futures bets and who's going to win games and who's going to. I'm busy. So that's just how I get down. Nonetheless, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all the great questions. I couldn't do this without you guys. I really couldn't. I feel special because my life is a dream to me, right? I live a dream. I really do. I get to wake up every day and talk sports and help players get to where they want to be and help gamblers get to where they want to be. And it's all because of the MVPs, and it's all because of you guys who watch me on YouTube. And I appreciate each and every one of you. So with that, thank you so much. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all. Stay up.